Hey, everybody, and welcome to another night of Women's World of Fishing Monday Night Takeover. Right now, we are still waiting for Angie Scott, the Woman Angler and Adventure, who is my co-host. She's going to try her best to make it on tonight. She had a last minute thing that came up, and she's still trying to make it back to the office to join us. I know she's going to do her best for that because tonight, we have Pam Martin-Wells on the show. And so if you are into fishing, if you follow fishing in any capacity, then you know who Pam Martin-Wells is. And so we were lucky enough to get her onto the show tonight. I know that she is super busy preparing. Oh my goodness, here she is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring Angie on. It looks like she just made it. So I'll go ahead and add her real quick.
Hey, hey.
Hey, I was just doing the introduction. Um, Thank you for making it. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to rush you or anything.
Yeah.
But we do have Pam backstage. And is everything okay with you?
Yep, all good.
Good deal. Well, I'm glad that you made it. I was talking to Pam backstage, super glad she could make it. She is in the truck. She's really, really busy. I know she's next week going to be going to a tournament with her college kids. Hey Richard, how you doing? Um, but Angie, is there anything for you
Uh-oh.
that's going on before we bring on Pam?
Yeah, it looks like we just lost Pam, so
Yeah,
bye.
she is. Oh, there she
Oh,
is.
there she is.
Okay,
Okay. No, just fished a local tournament yesterday and came in second place, so that
nice.
was cool with the guys. So, looking forward to a season with them as well as the LBAA. But yeah, just
That's
busy,
awesome.
busy with Freedom Boat Club, big event this weekend. So, uh,
Nice.
lots going on, but
I'm getting the feeling that this could be a turnaround year for you. Like things are falling your way. I'm serious. Like sometimes you just get a feeling, and I've
we'll
got a
see.
feeling. So this is pretty cool.
Thank you.
Um, But okay, I don't really have any housekeeping stuff to do. The only thing that I want to remind everybody is that if you could spread the word that we are only streaming to this official channel for the Women's World of Fishing Monday Night Takeover. I know a lot of people were watching through mostly through Facebook, Twitter and stuff like that. We're not streaming to those platforms anymore. We have to start streaming through the YouTube because it's for a lot of reasons, but it's just going to help our anglers. It's going to help their sponsors for us to track those analytics and provide more for them. So please spread the word on that in case people are looking for us. I've done the best I could to put the links out there everywhere that I could. So please help us spread the word on that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Pam because I know that's what everybody's waiting for. So we'll bring her on real quick. Are you good, Pam? Okay. Hello, Pam. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm good. I'm super
Busy, I think we're all busy.
yeah, I'm so happy to have you on here, Pam. Thank you so much for being here. Um it is no secret that your tournament was completely different than everybody else's, than the majority of everybody else's. And just real quick, so everybody knows, if you did not read the intro to this, for the professionals, there was only 3 limits that were weighed in that day. Out of all of the phenomenal like fishermen or fisher ladies that are in that tournament, there was only 3 limits. That tells you how tough it is. So Pam, can we just start with your practice? Like, how did your practice go? Because when you were on stage and talking to Don, you were just like, well, my practice wasn't good.
It wasn't of course, we had all the changing weather conditions, and I knew the fish were in a pre-spawn mode, um, but with the weather conditions, I just actually never could put my finger on it. I had four, maybe five places that I had caught one fish in practice, and of course, I didn't stay there and keep beating on them, but
Right.
I was only catching like one, maybe two fish a day in practice. So it was really a tough practice because I knew what the well, I say I knew what the fish were doing. My head thought it knew what the fish were doing. Um, but I couldn't make it work. I could go in some areas and use my Lowrance active target, and I could see the fish, and I just couldn't get them. Just couldn't get them to bite. So, like I say, I did a lot of scrambling. Covered a whole lot of water. I had done some research on the internet and found some specific spots to try that were pre-spawn stuff, some rock piles and stuff, and just you know, like I say, going into the first day of the tournament. I mean, I actually told my husband. I said if I can hit all four of these places, maybe I'll get lucky and one will bite off of each spot. So um, I actually started. Do you want me to stop there? You want me to keep going?
Well, I want you to touch on, we talk about the changing conditions. I mean, during practice, we were out there, it was sleeting at points, wind was a factor. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, for people who don't know, Ray Hubbard is typically on the most part a small lake, but it can get extremely rough. It's one of the few lakes in my 30 years of fishing all over the country at Amistad, the Hudson River in New York, Kentucky Lake. This is Ray Hubbard's one of the first places, and the only place that I've actually been scared, and that was several years back. It got rough. We were idling in, or I had to idle under the bridge, and the waves were just, I guess, because they were funneling under that bridge or whatever. I heard my motor made a funny noise, and I looked back, and the waves had actually caught us, and the whole back of the boat and motor was underwater. And I looked at my husband. I said, "If we can't get on plane, you best find a place to swim to because we're not gonna make it."
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, and I'm not. But anyway, to answer your question, Angie, I ran around and where I could, I used the wind to my advantage. Um, you know, sometimes it'll congregate the fish, but when you have those kind of conditions, it was doing one of two things. It was either blowing cold air in on a place or blowing warm water in on a place. So I was kind of just running around trying to use the wind to my advantage. You can ask anybody that knows I hate fishing in that kind of wind, but here, past few years, I've learned to deal with it. So, you know, the weather was it was crazy. I mean, Sunday I had on shorts and flip flops, and then Monday it was hailing or sleeting or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures.
And then Tuesday, I think it was, we're out there fishing, and it starts sleeting again. And I joke because if you watch the Weather Channel, you've heard of thunder snow. Well, we had thunder sleet.
Yeah.
Because fishing along, and I saw this flash, and I looked back at my husband. I said, "Tell me that wasn't lightning." He said, "A straight down bolt." So we were
Wow.
actually fishing in thunder sleet. So yeah, it was really crazy, crazy conditions. So it kind of had us messed up. It had the fish messed up. I know there were some good fish that were really staging good upriver, and that kind of threw a kink in those as well. So, like I say, I ran around during practice and did everything that I thought they should have been doing. And to be honest, because it is a small lake and things are so concentrated, trying to really kind of stay out of the traffic. I'm not one to fish in a crowd, so, but sometimes you have to.
Marinas.
Yeah,
that's
true.
what I always think of when I think Hubbard. I'm like, well, what marina is it going to be? It just seems like the popular choice at Ray Hubbard.
And actually, I did start in one, but it was I thought I was doing something different than everybody else, rather than just fishing the riprap inside the marina, the back walls, some of the stalls. I had 2 or 3 brush piles in there that I had found that I'd gotten bit out of, and that's what I specifically went in there for. And I didn't get bit in them, and then it just started. I mean, it was like a choo-choo train of boats coming in there, and honestly, it was one of those gut deals. I mean, I was like, I'm just not gonna stay in here. And I was fixing to leave and start hitting the other stuff that I had found, and my gut just told me to try something. And I had tied on a crankbait the day before that I'd not even thrown in practice, but it's a typical crankbait for that time of year, that color water, blah 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 blah. So I tied it on. I actually had like 5 rods with crankbaits, different crankbaits, and such. So I'm idling out of the marina, and there's just abundance of boats everywhere, and nobody was fishing on the outside. There's a riprap wall, break wall, that separates the marina from the big lake. Everybody was fishing on the inside. Absolutely nobody was fishing on the outside. So I said, what the heck? I said, they didn't fly in that marina. So I went out there, and I don't know, probably my 3rd cast, I caught that 5.5 pounder.
Nice.
And I went down. Angie was like, I could have spit on her on the other side of the riprap. I mean, they were right there. They had a bird's eye view. I went down a few, I don't know, 10 yards or so, and caught a 4 pounder. And I went on down, and then I quit getting bites. And I was like, I'm not stupid. So I turned around, and it was a specific area. There was a specific 50 to maybe 70-yard stretch. Beyond that, I didn't get bit. It was just right there in that specific spot. And I was doing something very specific with the crankbait. My presentation was very specific. And having done that, there was, I don't know, half a dozen or more boats that actually saw me catch these fish. So now I'm in this debate in my head. If I leave, I know it's just going to be like a swarm. And somebody actually told me after the weigh-in that was actually fishing in there said, when you left, it was like a swarm of flies. But anyway, I had that debate because I was like, I really need to save this, because they're obviously, I've obviously found a concentration rather than just onesies and twosies. So I wanted to stay there and just beat it and see just what I could catch there, because I knew there was still fish there. But there again, on the other hand, I had to think, well, if the weather doesn't change and they do have to cancel tomorrow, or don't have to cancel tomorrow, excuse me, right, then I need something to come back to. So I left. And like I said, it was like a swarm of flies, apparently.
And the good thing is, like, you had your limit before you left, right?
Yes, I did. I had a limit by 9:20.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing. Do you keep beating on them or whatever? But I do know of two over 5 that was caught right there after I left. So that's why I don't want to be too specific about my
That's okay.
specifics on how I was fishing, because in your intro you made the statement, was it how did you put it? Did I get lucky and find 5 junk fish or something to that nature?
Right.
And you'll very rarely hear me say this, but this is one of the few times that I will tell you, even if they had not canceled the second day, I have no doubt, I have 100% confidence in the fact that I could have made it to my fish. I could have fished my fish,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have caught them even behind somebody else, because what I was doing was so specific that somebody could have went down that in front of me and not caught them, and I could have come behind them and caught them. So,
Right.
you know, was it luck? Maybe it was luck, but
No, it wasn't. There's nobody that believes that's luck. And just so everybody knows, the statement in the intro, that's what's called in social media is clickbait. Like you write something up and you use it as so people are like, huh, well, did she really get lucky? It wasn't my opinion that I really thought that she had junk fish. I knew that she didn't. Yeah, that
no.
just doesn't
I mean,
exist with Pam.
I
But
mean, that's fine. Luck is a big factor in fishing for sure. But it was, and see, I hate to say this because I don't never want to sound like I'm bragging, but it was a gut feeling that comes from experience that told me to do what I was doing. 30 years of experience, and I knew, like, I mean, the and this is a standing joke between my husband and I, because there's lots of times we go somewhere, we catch fish here and we catch fish here, but we never catch them at that in between. So it's a standing joke saying they fly in there. Well, I know the dang fish didn't just fly in the marinas,
right,
and there was only one little cut there. They had to come from somewhere. So,
right.
but I was doing something very specific. Um, my co-angler, she was a very avid angler, but she didn't. It wasn't specific. She had a crankbait on too. It was a little thing.
Right. Well,
This
and
gonna be one of them little things I keep in my head.
and that's fine. Like, Stephen Pellerin, he says Pam has been lucky for 30 plus years. And it's kind of like what my dad, he's told me forever. He's just like, you notice how the same people in poker always get lucky? No, they know how to play poker. You know how to fish. It's not really luck. You just know how to fish better than most people. Like it it's so I don't really view it as, you get lucky over and over and over. You just have so much experience on lakes across the country, and I mean, you're just good. I don't know what else to say. Like, you're
Well,
just that good.
thank you, but it is, I've been doing this a really long time. I mean, I've been doing this longer than some of these competitors out there have been alive. So, I mean, I've been competitively fishing for 30 years, and have done that across the country and a wide variety of areas, lakes and such. So, yeah, if getting older makes me forget so much, I have pretty good database going on up there. But as you get older, you forget. But no, seriously, it's it is it's just simply experience. But you said that what your dad said. Well, my dad told me, he used to always say, you know what luck is? And I was like, he said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. If you're prepared when the opportunity arises, you'll do good. So I always try to look at it that way. I could have very easily just idled on out of that marina and gone somewhere else and
Mhm.
make, but
Are you losing her, Angie?
Yeah, Pam, you're breaking up on us a little bit. So maybe the connection will catch up with
Well,
itself a little bit. Happens to me all the time, so I know what you're going through.
hopefully we. I mean, it shows I got a good signal. That's where we stopped.
Okay.
Beside the
You're
road.
yeah, you're actually okay now.
Coming back a little bit now.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
you probably already know this, Pam, but so my day, like I had one fish in the boat early, and then of course I saw you catch all those fish there. We had an hour left. It wasn't that far from weigh in, so we went in behind another angler who was fishing that same bank, and I felt pretty confident because I knew I was kind of probably using a technique a lot of other ladies weren't using. And I fishing behind people all day long. I wasn't worried about it because I felt like, I'm showing them maybe something different anyways. And
Right.
so, and that's where I got that 5.33 pounder. So,
Which was your personal best.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So,
And
That's awesome.
I mean, and one of the things that I was going to ask you too, Pam, is, and you kind of already answered it, but it was that, we had been asking, since Wednesday at the meeting, we had been asking Larry, who is our tournament director for everybody who doesn't know, but like we had all been hinting like, whoa, Friday's looking a little kind of crazy, and then Thursday, we all had concerns. And Larry, I mean, he's an amazing tournament director, and he knew that if he called our numbers, all of us were going to go, and he just wouldn't put us in that situation. But when we went out on Thursday, I mean, it was 70 degrees and beautiful for the tournament day. We forgot to mention that, everybody. But we all kind of had it in our mind that we might not be fishing on Friday.
Right.
I was a co-angler. I didn't have any decisions to make based on that. But it sounds like that you were making your decision like you were going to fish on Friday. Is
Yeah.
that right? Like that's how you're
Correct.
if
Yes, that's why I left to quote unquote try to save the
okay.
air. Just because I mean you hear people all the time talking about burning fish. Well, I didn't want to burn everything that was there. So once you get to a point, or once I get to a point, if you're not upgrading, there's really there's really no need to keep beating on them. Now,
Right.
if I was steadily upgrading, then yes, but I made that decision just based on that if we did fish Friday, I was going to be able to go back. And you're absolutely correct. Larry did a phenomenal job. Like I said, I've seen the lake. I actually made that statement up there on stage, which I've had some say, well, yeah, you wanted us not to fish Friday because you were leading, but that's not it. I mean,
Right.
I honestly feel like I have enough confidence in my ability. I could have handled the water. I could have gotten to my fish. I could have fished them, and I could have caught them. But he made the right decision because it would not have been safe.
Right.
If it wasn't for the wind, just for the sheer temperature conditions.
Right.
Not a lot of these ladies have been in those conditions. I had the proper clothes. Like I got proper clothes for that kind of weather when I go somewhere in July. Look, I've done
Right.
learned my lesson. I could have dressed appropriately.
It was forecasted to be worse than Truman, and
right.
no.
So he did. He made the correct decision. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry, and better to err on the side of caution, for
And
sure.
I don't know who would have said that, because when he announced that, I wish I would have had my camera going, because everybody was like, "Yes." I mean, it was like, I don't know, you would have never thought that he just announced that the tournament day was canceled, because we're competitors and we love to compete. And he just canceled day 2 and we're cheering. Like, that usually wouldn't happen. But I can't imagine anybody who would have actually wanted to go out. I mean, anybody. I would have loved redemption, but not in that. No way.
When we were packing up Friday morning to leave, we left just as the sleet was all the way back to Georgia. But yeah, it would have been a very tough day. It would have been a very dangerous day.
And it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I
No.
went over the interstate going out of town, and one side looked okay. Then I looked over at the other side, and there were just huge rollers, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
That's
That
right.
looks fun.
Yeah,
Wow.
you got too far away
Um,
from the interstate on south of there, it would have been the same way. So it was he made the right decision.
Mhm.
yeah, I think without a doubt. And a lot of people, took off that night to get ahead of it. And some people stayed. We actually didn't leave until Saturday morning. The hotel was already paid for, and since we were going to Kentucky, if we would have left Friday morning, we would have been driving straight through it.
Wow,
So
that's
yeah, it just wasn't worth it. So we just hung out. um,
okay.
wow, you know, I know that there was quite a few big fish that were weighed in. It seemed like there wasn't a lot of fish that were caught collectively, but there were quite a few personal bests that were weighed in for some girls. One co-angler, I won't bring her up tonight. I'll wait till we do the co-anglers, but I was super excited for her. Um, but Ray Hubbard, it just seems to me like it, we just can't time it right. You hear all the things, that it's such a good lake and everything, but we just have not timed it right, is what
Right,
what I'm
but
feeling like.
but you got to give hats off to the LBAA. I mean,
Sure.
had the weather been normal,
Mhm.
it would have been probably a slugfest. Um, but unfortunately, that's the one thing none of us can predict is the weather. And
Right. A
but
year in advance.
right, the first 10-day forecast I looked at prior to coming, it was going to be in the 70s all week. So
Mhm.
Oh, that would have been good.
you just Mother Nature's going to do what it's going to do, and you
Right.
know that's the hardest part with these tournaments.
Well, if we end up getting scheduled there next year, we can just kind of like call, Garland, Texas ahead of time and be like, "Look, you guys are going to get some winter weather during this time because we're going to be there." So, just to give you a heads up,
Hey,
cuz it's been
for the years
ruthless
I've
to us.
always,
Huh?
that's right. And 30 years, I've always said, if you want weather to change, bring a women's tournament to your bring cold, we'll bring something. So yeah, I mean, we can bring it.
It's like it follows us around, but it
Makes us tougher.
it does. And the one thing about it is that when it's that tough, it is tough on everybody. It's not like it's just singling one person out. It's tough
Right.
on the whole crew that goes out. And that's the one thing that I always try to focus on, you know. Of course, I haven't had to say, well, it's tough on every co-angler, but damn it, fishing behind Pam Martin-Wells. I haven't had to say that yet. So I'm totally going to draw you at Caddo. I just jinxed myself.
There you go. There you go.
No,
There you
do
go.
what?
I said,
I couldn't get.
are
Did
you
you hear
there?
what she said?
Yeah, it's cutting out
I said,
again.
we can fix.
We can
You hear me
fix what?
then?
I heard we can
I said,
fix.
we can fish together at Caddo. Be all right.
There you go. That came through.
You know, you know what? Actually, I would take my chances fishing behind you at Caddo. Well, I've never been to Caddo, Bull Shoals, or Logan Martin, so I don't know. But if I had to pick, it would probably be Caddo. From what I do know, I'll take
Well,
my chances there.
Caddo's a whole different monster. Um, with all the cypress trees, just just don't look.
Mm.
Because you're I
Well,
mean you're running through stuff and you're going, holy Jesus. But I mean it's the boat run. The cypress
right.
tree. Just don't stick your tongue out. You might hit one.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
It's a
Well,
fun
for
it's a fun lake though.
yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, all the 3 ones that we have left, I've never been to any of them, so it should be interesting. For Ray Hubbard, I didn't pre-fish this one, at Ray Hubbard, and I'm glad I didn't. It didn't look fun. I was perfectly fine getting in on Wednesday, and
Yeah.
just watching the videos of everybody with the sleet on the front of the boat. And I don't think a lot of people actually saw, because not everybody posted those videos, but it was like covered on boats, like on the deck. And
Yeah,
I
I posted one that it was you could actually see it and as the deck was getting full. Yeah.
yeah, and didn't it drop the water temperature like several degrees or something like that?
The
And
whole system combined did, but yeah, it dropped I think best I remember probably 5 to 7 degrees in some of the areas I was in for sure.
man, see, and that, I mean, that makes it tough. Um, One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about is you had said that you had caught your fish in the morning, by 9:20 that you had your limit, and I
Mhm,
heard several other people say that they had caught their fish in the morning and nothing the rest of the day. And
mhm.
then there was another group, including me, I had caught my fish really late in the day. And so it seemed like you either caught fish in the morning or you caught fish late, and then there was nothing in the middle of the day.
Absolutely nothing. At 9:30 it was like somebody flipped a switch. And Lisa Johnson said the same thing where she was fishing. She said about 9:30 it was like lights off. That was it. They were done.
So do you think that there was like two separate windows, or do you think that there was like uh in the morning window for a certain technique, or like what happened? What's your opinion as to what happened there?
I, I
Or
didn't really look at it, but I think the weather and the pressure change created two windows of opportunity there.
okay. Because it
And
seemed pretty equal. I mean, everybody was in one of the windows as far as their catch.
because
Um,
the morning deal was following the cold front, but it was warming up, so the pressure was rising.
Gotcha.
Um, and then by the afternoon, even though it was still warm, I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure with that system coming in that the pressure started falling. So I really think it created two bite windows there.
Gotcha. So basically, with the sun being high and bright and warming up the water, but yet the pressure was going to drop because of the storm system coming. It kind of created that
Right.
window. That
That's
makes sense.
my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but I really feel like that's what took place with the.
No, I
With
mean, that
the
totally makes sense. I just, I'm just trying to pick your brain
I
to
mean,
learn.
when you got that kind of weather change in that short a period of time, I mean,
Mhm.
there was some drastic pressure changes there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, and maybe I don't know. Maybe the fish don't even notice, but you would think that they would just be like, "Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing?"
Absolutely, they noticed. Trust me.
Yeah.
If you've ever been out fishing and everything's dead silent, dead calm, and then all of a sudden the birds start chirping, the squirrels start barking. If you'll notice, you'll start catching fish. So I mean, the animals they pay a whole lot more attention to all that kind of stuff than we do.
That's that's a really good point.
They
You
can't
know,
turn on
I
they can't turn on the 6 o'clock weather channel.
right, right. That yeah, I mean that makes total sense. And I what water temperature do the fish really, do you think, start to get serious about spawning? Is it based on the moon or is it based on the temperature?
uh, it's actually quite a few variables because you will have freak incidences where I mean, like Ray Hubbard got in the 80s before we
Oh
got there.
wow.
Um, but it's not the water, the air temperature, yeah. But it's a combination of the water temperature, the length of the days. That's the biggest thing is the length of the days and the moon phase.
Okay.
I mean, it's debatable whether it's the full moon or the new moon. That's a 50-50 debate on which is the best. Um, but it's the water temperature plays a huge part. Don't get me wrong. So anywhere from 55 to 65 is when they're going to start their transition.
Okay.
Typically around 63 degrees is when they'll start spawning. Some will go up early, of course. Um, but the biggest thing that I've been told, it's the length of the days. So when the days start getting
Getting
longer,
longer.
that's kind of their clock.
Okay.
That way that way they know that they're not necessarily going to get caught. I don't mean to say this way. They're not going to get caught with their pants down. They're not going
Right.
to get up there on one of them freak warm days or warm weeks when the water temperature comes up, and then they're not going to get up there and start doing their thing and have some snowstorm come in.
Right. Well, I mean, out here our water temperatures are still really low, and but we just had a full moon, and like the day before the full moon I was at a pond and I thought I saw a bed and I'm like, there's no way. And then I was like, well, that looks like a bed too. What in the world? And it was a bunch of beds, but I only saw one that had a male that was real finicky and stuff like that. But I just I've never seen the beds that early here. So I was just like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's, moon. And I had never even considered that. I thought all water temperature, but learning.
So it's length of the days along with the moon. So yeah, and water temperature.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the water temperature has to be a certain temperature for the eggs to incubate. So and I mean they know that.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha. Do you think that the spawn will play a factor at Caddo?
um, that's in May. I don't.
Mhm.
I don't.
Beginning of May.
Probably not. I mean, there may still be some spawning, but I would imagine they're getting close to doing their thing
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that Caddo's on the border of Louisiana and Texas. I keep thinking it's
Yeah,
closer
and
to
it's
me, Louisiana.
actually it's probably still a little south of where we were at Hubbard. So yeah,
Gotcha.
I think because see the fish at Lake Fork had already started spawning when we were at Hubbard the week before. So
Wow.
uh,
That's
but
just insane to me that they can be that close and one lake they're doing this there and then like, you know, this lake they're doing that. It just it's not
all
like that here.
got to do with water influx, the water temperature coming in. I mean, the way it lays, whether or not it heats up faster, a lot of different things. But yeah, the cover.
Hmm.
I mean, the grass and the wood. There's just a lot of things that'll make a lake be warmer than one right beside it. In other words,
Right.
Richard says they're already spawning on Caddo.
Oh,
I
really?
I figured as much. Yeah, I would expect we'll be doing a postpone thing.
Hmm. Well, hopefully they're still a little bit chubby. They've already fattened up, after they've laid eggs and we don't get a bunch of skinny fish.
There you
That'll
go.
that'll be our luck. They've got those big heads and those little skinny bodies. That's what it'll be.
Caddo's
Caddo.
got a pretty healthy population. I think you'll be pleased with the
I
quality
hope.
of Caddo. Yeah.
I hope that we have a real nice, you know, tournament where everybody's catching fish and I hope it's a good safe tournament where we're not having to run from tornadoes and stuff like that.
That's
That's
true.
that's my hope.
Be prepared for anything.
That well, and I think that we definitely um I bet you everybody is prepared, from now on when they go to tournaments for all weather.
Yeah. See. Like I say, I learned that lesson a long time ago. I left South Georgia. It was 105 degrees. Went to Missouri. I can't remember now where. Table Rock, Truman, somewhere. And the whole way there, it was in the 100 degrees. Got there the first day of practice. It was like high 90s. The second day of practice, it started raining. Temperature started dropping. By the third day of practice, it was like 40 degrees and raining. And the tournament morning, it was in the 30s. I mean, this was back
Wow.
in the Massengal days when there was 200 people. 200 women swarmed that little town and bought everything long. It didn't matter if it was men's, women's, child's, whatever. If it was long, we bought it because nobody. So that's why I told you earlier. Even if it's in June, I got clothes for if it turns off 30. And when it's
That's
30,
funny.
and in January, I'll take at least one pair of shorts. So yeah, this is a double pack sport.
Yeah, I mean, and it pretty much has to be. Even this short trip that, I mean, I drove to Texas. Me and my mom, we drove one day and we drove back in one day, but it looked like I packed for a week and a half. But it was because of layers and, in case we have to get a hotel on the way back. I mean, you never know.
You should
Um,
you should have seen our truck because
I can only
by the,
imagine.
by the time we left Hubbard, we had been on the road for 3.5 weeks because my
Oh,
college
wow.
had a tournament at Chickamauga. Then we went straight to Gunnersville, so that was 2 weeks back to back. And just as soon as they weighed in at Gunnersville, I had to go to Ray Hubbard.
Oh,
So
wow.
not only did I had to pack for a week of tournament fishing for us, but I had all the stuff that I normally take to the college tournaments. You know,
Wow.
so yeah, it was like is the lid gonna shut?
Right. And then Kusa's got a nice big bed in there, probably has most of the room.
That's right. Oh yeah, she don't have her room.
Oh. Well, what would you say, like, as far as Hubbard? I mean, I wish we would have had day 2 based on the fact, like, if the I wish we didn't have the weather that we had so that we could have had day 2. I mean, I drove 1,000 miles there and 1,000 miles back to, to fish 8 hours. So I wish we would have had safe weather in a day 2, but it just didn't happen.
Right.
So what would you say was, outside of practice, was your favorite part of the actual tournament? Because it sounds like, I mean, you were confident about your spot, so you had to have known when you left those fish you had this tournament. You had to have known that.
Well,
I'd have
yeah.
been like,
well, I felt good, but I'm never overconfident. I mean, because this group of ladies, and I knew where Lisa Johnson was fishing because they told me. Because I mean, they knew I wouldn't go. But I really expected. I mean, it's Ray Hubbard, and I figured somebody was going to come in with a big bag. I just didn't know it was going to be me. But
well, I was going to say they did. It was you.
But yeah, I mean, I did feel good. Did I feel confident prior to weighing in? No, because I never do. I mean, I never think I've won until I've won.
So then what was your favorite moment? Was it after you caught the 4, after the 5, that quick back to back, or was it after you turned around and went back through and caught a few more? Like, at what point was it just like,
I guess if you want to put it that way, I guess the aha moment was when I turned around and got back to that exact same spot or section and caught another fish right away. Then it was
the
like,
same exact.
Then it was like, there was no need to go this way any further, and there was no need to go this way any further. I mean, although I did, just to kind of let it rest, but
Right.
I mean, that would have been, I guess that would be the favorite moment. And the fact that I listened to my gut and it was right.
That must be so nice.
I could have very easily shot the gas to it and booked out of there, and it just something was telling me not to. So, yeah.
Pam, you mentioned Bass and Gals. I just got a text from Lori with 2 chicks in a boat. She wanted me to ask your opinion on what made Bass and Gals so successful with that many anglers, and now we kind of struggle getting anglers.
Well, back then, for one thing, it was new. There was a lot of sponsor backing. And it was really big. When Bass and Gal went under for various reasons, and you had the next one come up, and the LBAA, in other words, is following a line that hasn't succeeded for one reason or another. And some reasons, I just don't want to say, but for some reason or another. So it's really hard for Cheryl and them to build it back to that point. I mean, back during the Bass and Gal days, 30 years ago, when I won my first tournament, I won a fully rigged Ranger boat on a $200 entry fee. So I mean, heck, that was huge. Yeah. And but they had the sponsor backing to do that. So having the monetary payout to justify being on the road, spending all the money, that kind of thing, made it grow a lot faster. That makes sense.
It makes total sense, but
And it's no fault of Cheryl and them. I mean, they've been trying to follow in the footsteps of a long line of not the best business people in the world, I guess.
they've worked their butts off
They
for
have.
over a decade. But
And look, hey, the payout's great considering. But that was the biggest draw. A fully rigged boat for a $200 entry fee, and they paid probably through 30 places. So, but that's
how I think she's cutting out again.
Yep. Kind of in and out a little bit.
I said, I promise the wind must blow. They still didn't hear me.
Oh, now you're back.
There?
Yeah.
Yep, you're back.
I said, we're not moving. The wind must be blowing.
So how in the world do we get back to that? I mean, that's the goal.
That is the goal.
How do we get back to that?
They're on the right track with the digital magazine and stuff like that. The more media you can get out there, the more you can give the industry, the more you'll gain back. Bass and Gal had bi-monthly, I think it was, 4-color magazine that was put out, and just like I say, but they had the sponsor backing to do that.
Right.
But can y'all hear me? Am I there?
We can.
We can hear you now.
I'm holding my phone up like an antenna.
Oh.
And dang, I forgot what I was saying.
Back.
Huh? I can't remember where I was going. And it was such a good
You
point.
said that they had the magazine and that they had the Bass and Gals had the sponsorship to do it.
Thank you. But now, see, nowadays the industry's so flooded. I mean, think about it. Back during the Bass and Gal days, there was BASS, there was Bass and Gal. That's pretty much it for national circuits. Now, I mean, just look. You got Major League Fishing. You got the Women's Tour. You got BASS. You got this. You got that. You got the college series, the high school series. The market is absolutely flooded. So it's, that's the biggest challenge right there is you're working a flooded market.
Right.
We got to get outside. We got to get outside the box.
We need to well, I had heard from, I mean, I would consider her a mentor. I really respect her a lot. And she said when it comes to, financial sponsorships, you need to look outside of the fishing industry, which makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. And I'm wondering if that's kind of the same deal with would be with the tour.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Major League Fishing and BASS. A lot of their big sponsors now are not actually fishing industries. Yeah, I mean, you got bad boy buggies, guaranteed rate. Just did one of them. I don't even know what that is. What is that? An insurance company? I mean,
I have
so
no idea.
so I
Dude
mean,
wipes. Dude wipes.
General Tire. I mean, you know, it's outside the box. That kind of thing. So, somebody told us one time, think about everything you touch during a day. That could be a potential sponsor. You know, it doesn't have to.
So
I'm not talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about in the boat.
right.
Think about the things when you wake up in the morning. Think about everything you touch. That could be a potential sponsor.
So we could go after like women's items. I mean, that would make the most sense.
Absolutely. Ziploc bags. How many fishermen use Ziploc bags?
Well, that's true. Ice companies, you know.
Right. I mean, it's just a matter of getting out there and showing them what you can do for them in return.
I literally we had a boat growing up on Lake Cumberland at Grider Hill, and the owner at Grider Hill said that I believe it was the 4th of July weekend. And he said that 4th of July weekend, his dock sold enough ice to pay his employees for the entire year.
Wow.
That's how much he sold in ice over a weekend. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah. You know, I mean, so I don't know. I don't think there even is an ice brand, but
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm sure
it's definitely just something to think about if we could get it up to those numbers, because there's a lot of women out there that do want to fish. You know, but I mean, you've said it before, the sponsorships aren't there to help supplement to get us out there, you know. And then Angie, you and I have talked about it, just even in addition to that, there's also the anxiety of doing it too, you know, getting over that self or that of yourself, to do it. So we definitely come up, you know, against a lot of things, but I think
But on the other hand, we got this generation coming up through the high school and the college ranks that if this is all played correctly, I mean, I'm not going to be around forever. You know, I mean, I don't know how old y'all are, but you're not going to be around forever. We got to have somebody replace us.
Right.
Just like the generation that I was in came up and replaced some of those Bassingal ladies, you know. So the potential's there, the interest is there.
And I know that, like, you know, we've said before with the LBAA is that we want somewhere for the college girls to go, you know, because they might not want to go straight to the opens or something like that. You know, we want them to choose the LBAA to go to. And you know, the girls coming up through that way, they're not going to probably have the same anxieties that, say, a lot of other girls might have, you know, because
that's right.
You know, they've been there, done that. And, you know, they're going to come up probably with a boat, jump right into, you know, the pro spot if they've got a boat. Those are girls that we want, that the tour needs. But, you know, recruiting them is, I guess, the challenge. You know, finding them, you know, it takes a lot of work.
Right.
You know? Mm-mm. Well, I Pam, I don't know what to say to you. You eh, you are I hope that you're around for a long time because you still have a lot that you can teach us. You know,
Thank-
I I ask a lot of other side questions because, you know, the amount of knowledge that I mean, we're used to you kicking our butts, but like the amount of knowledge that we can gain from you is it can't be replaced. And I really appreciate you taking the time, especially the fact that you're sitting in the dark in your truck, hopefully hopefully not at a rest area. Um but the fact that you take the time to, come on here and do this, it is really appreciated.
Well,
Um,
no, I appreciate it because, like I said, this is the kind of thing that helps build the organization, build the sport. I mean, this is the kind of publicity and stuff that we need. So
well,
I appreciate it much.
well,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, Pam. We appreciate it.
And I mean, and if you think of Pam, if you think of anything that we can do on the show at any point, like help steer us in the right direction. Because I always tell everybody like we're open to anything, suggestions, like we'll do it within reason.
I
But
agree.
but yeah, anything that you think of. I mean, you've been with the Bass and Gals and coming up and you've had a lot of different experiences, and if you think of something we could do to help get things rolling on our end, we will help. I will help. Cuz that is why I
Okay,
started this, you know.
there
And
you go.
having you on here is amazing and is very very helpful. So, thank you very very much.
Thank y'all. I appreciate the opportunity.
You are very very welcome. You guys can get back on the road and please be safe.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great
You're
All
evening.
right.
you
You too.
too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.